Ever since Batman first drew up his signature contingency plans, one phrase has etched itself into superhero pop culture. Beware the Superman. Again, and again, and again, and again. Let's just say now that the first season of Invincible is wrapped up, we're all sufficiently bewaring thanks to Robert Kirkman's Mirror of Steel Omni Man. Now before I get started, let me just say that despite how oversaturated the evil Superman gallery is, Omni Man's an admittedly interesting take on the trope, and the writing combined with J.K. Simmons' excellent vocal performance is more than enough to make him an actual character instead of just a walking ball of meta. But it did get me thinking about the real Superman, why I've always liked him despite being such a boring character in concept. The biggest factor to Kal-El's enduring success has always been the aspirational thing. To many, he represents the best of what we can become, something I personally don't put much stock into, since that's already the case for most superheroes. Additionally, all those other heroes work under flaws and limitations that naturally lead to interesting struggles, something that Superman doesn't really have under normal circumstances, and yet I still like him. For the longest time, I couldn't put my finger on why that was until rewatching Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, surprisingly. In a film that otherwise comes across as the second coming as envisioned by Akira Toriyama, one specific moment helped me to see what the quintessential Superman was all about.
Why are you surrendering to Zod?
I'm surrendering to mankind. There's a difference.
You let them handcuff you?
Wouldn't be much of a surrender if I resisted. And if it makes them feel more secure, then all the better for it.
Sir?
Hi, my name is Dr.
Emil Hamilton. I know. I can see your ID tag in your breast pocket. You can also see the squad of soldiers in the next room, preparing that tranquilizing agent of yours.
You won't need it.
We have legitimate security concerns.
Let's put our cards on the table here, General.
You're scared of me because you can't control me. You don't. And you never will. But that doesn't mean I'm your enemy.
Then who is? Zod.
That's what I'm worried about.
Now, anyone watching is perfectly aware that Superman isn't just holding all the cards in this exchange. He's got the entire deck and set of chips resting comfortably on the table, casually balanced on top his fingertips. And all the military hardware or state-sanctioned torture techniques won't change that, a fact he makes very clear to everyone present. But he nonetheless gave himself over peacefully as a gesture of good faith and states his position politely as he does firmly, without directly antagonizing anyone, including General Zod, the guy who started this whole diplomatic fiasco and will soon be attempting planetary genocide. He's prepared for the situation to escalate, but is still holding out hope for a peaceful resolution in a way no reasonable person can disagree with. Here we see that Superman isn't a mythological endpoint we should all strive for. He personifies the infallible logic of just being a good person. Our boy in blue is always giving these corny speeches saying things like, truth and justice are good things, violence isn't the only answer, don't run on train tracks, and we all roll our eyes because, duh, it's just common sense. You do good, you get good. And yet, evil remains. Goons still uselessly empty their magazines on Superman. Low-tier villains still rush in thinking they'll be the ones to finally beat this physical god hand-to-hand. They all try to wrestle past him for personal gain even though it's abundantly clear that what they're doing is idiotic. It's why the staple supervillain is Lex Luthor. The man has all this money and influence which could be used to better the world, but instead is wasted on empty material pursuits.
If it wasn't for you, I could have saved the world. If it had mattered to you, Luthor, you could have saved the world years ago. You're right.
I suppose it's fitting that Luthor's head is as smooth as a baby's bottom, because that's what he is, a gigantic, entitled man-baby. Superman's contempt for the refusal of common sense is what sets him apart from the all-powerful foes he regularly goes up against, like Zod, Brainiac, or Darkseid. Take that away, and now he's just another one of the dime a dozen despots. Looping back to Invincible, we can see that while Omni Man wears the cape, his son Mark Grayson is the true parallel to Superman, embodying the principles of common decency despite his father's best attempts to... let's just say rebuke it. Even after Omni Man administers the kind of beating that would make Vegeta blush, Mark has him rocketing off planet in shame simply by appealing to Nolan Grayson's humanity. After all, a good Superman doesn't just punch through stuff with his fists, he also does it with his words, Churchill style. And maybe this is obvious to fans of Superman and Invincible, but given the frequency of people asking the evil Superman question, I feel this is something worth pointing out, especially since General Zod answered said question back in 1961. Besides, with the cavalcade of failure we call modern leadership, the idea of an all-powerful figure not being a gigantic Zeus is the more interesting and transgressive character concept nowadays. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and expect more trash posts in the immediate future since that's apparently my strong suit. Have a nice day, and Omni Man was not right, dear God.